everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies, featuring the recipes from the World of H.P. Lovecraft cookbook. The potato salad was pretty good last week, so this week we're on to the entree, Sonia's magical spaghetti. First up, let's tell the story. Spaghetti was one of Lovecraft's favorite foods, and he was particularly fond of his wife Sonia's version, which he mentions frequently in his letters to his aunts. The pair went out for a fine spaghetti dinner before they went to get their marriage license, and he describes their homemade spaghetti sauce as inimitable, with meat prepared in magical ways beyond the divining of the layman. Despite this, Sonia taught him how to make it. He notes that his efforts were, quote, a spectacular success. Here's hoping the version below would stand up to Lovecraft's incredibly high spaghetti standards. Comforting, filling, and richly deep in flavor, this version of a quintessentially Italian recipe is bound to become a family favorite and is a great midweek standby. Serve it with plenty of grated Parmesan for sprinkling over. Well, we're going to find out what kind of a standby it is. The ingredients are waiting for us at the table, so let's move in that direction. In order to make this recipe, we're going to need they say 8 pounds of spaghetti, but I'm pretty sure that's 8 ounces of spaghetti, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, an onion that's been chopped, 2 garlic cloves that are crushed. I'm using 2 teaspoons of minced garlic as usual, a large carrot that's been peeled and chopped. The recipe also calls for a cup of coarsely chopped mushrooms, but I have never warmed up to mushrooms in my life, so I'm going to omit those from this recipe. A teaspoon of oregano, half a teaspoon of thyme, 12 ounces, I've got a pound of ground beef, 1 1/4 cups of beef stock, 1 1/4 cups of tomato paste or tomato sauce. I'm using tomato sauce, and Parmesan cheese to serve. We'll need the salt, and we'll need the salt here very quickly, but let's move into the kitchen and start putting this recipe together. Most of you guys are probably smart enough that you don't need my help with bring a pot of lightly salted water to a boil. That's what I was doing here. So what we're going to do here, and we're going to keep an eye on it, is we're actually going to cook the spaghetti. So we're going to cook the spaghetti according to the package directions, which we're just going to dump that in. So we're going to cook that until it's tender. Then we're going to drain it and keep warm. I don't want to pour this all in at once, if I can avoid it. Let's see what I can do here. I'm probably going to have to pour it in mostly at once. And I probably overfilled it, especially if I'm expecting there to be a bit of spillover. Although as it starts to sag, just like we're seeing there, eventually it will start to drift all the way in. So we're going to put all the spaghetti in there. Which here's the box of spaghetti as we're very nearly emptying it. Actually, we're going to empty it. Okay, there we are. Now, once again, what we're going for here is we're going to cook this until tender and then drain it and keep warm. I'm not going to bore you guys with cooking pasta. In fact, I do want to keep an eye on it, so I'll be doing that while I'm bouncing back and forth between boiling water and, whoa boy. Well, fortunately, it's just water with a little bit of salt in it, so I'm not too worried about it sizzling on the burner. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you guys with cooking noodles, so we'll come back when the noodles are done and keeping warm, when we'll have another basically stock pot is where we're going to go with this on the stove. In case you're wondering what you're hearing behind me, I'm running some warm water over the pasta, over the spaghetti, to keep it warm. Now, we've got another stock pot that we're going to use here, that I was using for some of my prep earlier in the day. So now we're going to start by heating the oil in here. We've got our 2 tablespoons of olive oil right here. We'll pour that in. Okay. The olive oil can go back to where I normally keep it. That olive oil is such a big container that I can't keep that around the, I can't keep that in the spice cabinet where I keep everything else. So we're going to swirl the oil around a little bit in our saucepan, even though it's a stock pot. Then we're going to add the onions and cook for 2 to 3 minutes. And the goal here is until the onions is just for 2 to 3 minutes. So we've got the onions right here. Whoa. All right, so we'll set a timer for 2 minutes. We're going to get to a point where I'm going to be getting ready to turn the camera off because there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up here. In fact, I think once we get to the next part of it and I set the next timer, there we're probably going to cut to black. Okay, there's the microwave that I was using for my timer. So now we're going to add the garlic, carrots, and here's where you add the mushrooms as well if you're using them, but I'm not, so I'm not going to add them. So I've got my garlic right here. 2 teaspoons of garlic. The carrots. And again, here's where you'd add the mushrooms if you're using them, but I'm not. So we're just going to set the timer for 5 minutes here. And now I'm going to explain what's going to happen after this. So after this, I'm going to add the herbs and the ground beef and cook for 10 minutes, browning the meat. Then I'm going to add the stock pot and tomato paste and tomato sauce for another 10 minutes, stirring occasionally until the sauce is thickened and the meat and veggies are tender and cooked through. We'll come back when that is all done. Here's our first look at the spaghetti sauce. You can also probably hear that I've killed the water because at this point, now we're going to bring the spaghetti into the pan with the sauce. There we are. We'll probably have an easier time doing this over at the counter. So we'll bring that over here, where we're going to mix the spaghetti in with the sauce. Easy does it. Ow. Thumb on hot metal, not good. And actually what I think I want to do instead of that, I'm going to get one of my pasta spoons so I can mix it that way. Yeah, that's working a lot better to do it that way. Also, it was a bit more pasta than the recipe called for too, so I think that's playing into how it's a little bit harder to mix up. But it seems like we're managing here so far. Okay. It's been ages since I've had spaghetti too, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. And we're going to find out here shortly how it turns out, or how it's going to turn out. Oh, and hurting my arm a little bit, but not a complete surprise about that. Well, maybe give it a little bit more of a mix. Okay. That looks like we're good. So, with that, now I'm going to plate some of this. I'll top it with some of the Parmesan cheese, and then I'll meet you guys over at my desk for the taste test. I've got some of the spaghetti right here. Seeing as this is supposed to be dinner, I'm hoping for obvious reasons this turns out. So, let's find out and see what I think. It's a serviceable spaghetti recipe. There's not really too much flavor to it just because everything is I don't know, it just seems a little bit on the bland side for my tastes, but it'll do for what I need it to. That's another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. The schedule for the next couple of weeks was looking a little bit funny, but as a couple of things have kind of fallen off, I'm now going to make the schedule look unfunny and bring it back to normal. So next week, we'll be making the dessert meteor cakes. As for what else we've got coming up on the channel, later tonight, we will be over at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as the Nashville Predators will be playing the Pittsburgh Penguins, continuing my 2009-10 hockey season replay. Sunday morning, the Summer of Lovecraft will continue against Yog-Sothoth as we play Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. Wednesday, in honor of H.P. Lovecraft's birthday, we will be playing Call of Cthulhu from Chaosium. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications to get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.